So I start out my day listening to the podcast The Seven from the Washington Post because I like the way they talk in fear mongering. Yay! No, I mean, they do kind of set the tone for what the big stories are of the day, and I can kind of get a little bit of adrenaline going because they do really fearmonger. And here's one of the stories they presented today. Um, Okay, let's just go through it together because I think it's important, not just the story, but how they are covering the story, which is misleading when it comes to climate change, not just climate change, but the destruction of our planet. It's not just climate change. I always say that. It is the poisoning of our food and waterways, et cetera, et cetera. The deforestation, putting plastic in the ocean, all of it, it's way beyond just climate change. So I'm sure let's pound this away a little bit. We need to talk about it in terms of a holistic approach and not that it's just about climate change. First of all, it's easier to deny climate change if you're not a scientist, so you can't think about it, like Amy Coney Barrett on our Supreme Court. She said, literally, and I quote in her confirmation hearings, that she's not a scientist, so she can't speak about climate change. And I'm like, yeah, the science is settled. You don't need to be a scientist. Can you read? Anyway, going off on a tangent. Anyway, a giant pile of logs is trapping millions of tons of carbon in Canada. And then the subtitle is, but climate change might lead it to break down. Might. Um, Climate change will lead it to break down. It's just how fast or slow. It's not a might, it's a when. All right? The log jam, here's a photo of the log jam, which looks a little like the United States, kind of with the Gulf of Mexico. Anyway, the log jam the sides of Manhattan, trapping millions of tons of carbon in the Mackenzie River Delta in northern Canada. Now global warming may be putting it at risk. Maybe putting it at risk. No, it is putting it at risk. It's putting that at risk. It is putting your home and livelihood at risk. It is putting, it's putting everything at risk. Anyway, I just don't like the fact that they use the word may because it suggests that the science is undecided. Yeah, we don't know. We can't say for sure that when the climate continues to heat and then hits tipping points and runaway tipping points that we know are on the horizon, may have even been passed in some areas. We can't know for sure that it's going to make this particular log jam melt. How do I know? Because you have a mind. That's how you know. Anyway, here's the reporting. A pileup of ancient logs nearly as big as Manhattan is trapping millions of tons of carbon in northern Canada, and much of that stored material could be released into the atmosphere due to climate change, according to a recent study. Again, could be released into the atmosphere. Well, where else is it going to be released? Is it going to be soaked into the boggy ground below? No, I don't think so. It will be released. And the question is, when? And then when we go down, scroll down a little bit, it talks about when. It says maybe soon, and we're all going to die in a catastrophe because they want you to think about climate change as something that's going to happen like bam, and you got it. But it may or may not happen that way. There may be a certain. Anyway, the fallen jumbled wood has in some cases been sitting for more than a millennium, protected from decay by the deep freeze and the tight packing of the logs, which are carried northward by the Mackenzie River above the Arctic Circle. Okay, that's reporting. By the way, above that, it says 10 steps you can take to lower your carbon footprint. Well, yeah, sure. I can turn off my lights and I can turn off my computer. But what would be great is if we got rid of Joe Manchin in West Virginia, who pushed so hard to have that pipeline, who wouldn't vote for a debt ceiling, held the American economy and the global economy hostage, wouldn't vote to raise the debt ceiling unless we approved a pipeline or unless Biden approved the pipeline that he's been championing for years. I mean, disgusting. Everybody's just thinking in terms of their own personal good. Nobody is thinking in terms of the benefit to the whole. And that is the main problem that we have here. And that problem is forwarded by the thinking that surrounds capitalism. It's a real problem in thought. I literally just responded to somebody's comment on my YouTube page about I did a piece, go back and take a look at it. I did a piece about guns. In Connecticut, there were some gun laws that have been passed, tighter restrictions, and their response, of course, was, "This is gonna be terrible for gun owners." No, horrible. They used the word horrible. "This is gonna be horrible for gun owners." And I'm like, "Well, it might be horrible for gun owners, but, um, actually, what I said was, "It's not horrible for gun owners. What's horrible for everyone is having children slaughtered, and you have to be able to give up something in order to have a peaceful, kind society. Horrible is when your or your neighbors or your country person's child gets slaughtered. Not being able to have a high capacity magazine, that is not horrible. That's just, oh, that's too bad if that's how you think." So let's be specific. Okay, I've gotten way off base, off track. Warming temperatures and rising seas, the logjam may be at risk of breaking up and decaying more quickly, said Alicia Somebody, researcher at Michigan Technological University, who led the study. Natural carbon sinks like forests, peatlands, and oceans are important damper on climate change because they trap more carbon than they release into the atmosphere. Carbon sinks on land and estimated to soak up a quarter of the world's emissions, a powerful but not always well understood factor in slowing warming. Hmm. Not all carbon stores are resilient to rising temperatures, though. Yeah, I would suggest that that kind of reporting, that kind of language, not all carbon stores are resilient to rising temperatures. Yeah, no carbon stores are resilient to rising temperatures. Name one. Name one that if the temperatures continue to go up would be resilient. It teased me. It teased me off that the way they report it is like, keep calm, everything's fine, but a little scary because maybe this might happen, but maybe not, and we don't know. Come on. Not all carbon stores are resilient to rising temperatures. No. How about this? Carbon stores are not resilient to rising temperatures. That's what it is. God. All right. Okay, and then it gets thawing permafrost starts melting slowly and then melts very rapidly, for example, leading to fears of massive releases of carbon into the atmosphere and a problem that builds on itself. Well, I'm sorry, we already have masses of releases of carbon and a problem that builds on itself. We already have that problem. So can we talk about this in terms of we already have a problem that is building on itself? If the global climate wasn't warming, the possibility of these logs thawing out and releasing more carbon, building on the problem we already have, would not be there. Anyway, I feel like I should have like a bowl of pasta that I'm eating, and we're talking over a bowl of pasta because this is a very like yelling about politics over a Italian dinner table kind of conversation we're having right now. Anyway, put your comments below. I'm Julianna Forlano. Thank you very much for watching.